and I'm back. Got a little something for you. These are called snap caps. Snap caps. Okay? These are very good training tools. Everybody should try to use them at home. So what these are, and always make sure that you get snap caps that are colored. I prefer these to this one. Why? Because I don't necessarily like the gold on this one. This is a clear indicator that this is a dummy round. And that's what snap caps are, they're dummy rounds. And it's a very, very good home training tool. So whenever you purchase snap caps, you can purchase them at Academy Sports, but you can also find these rounds at Amazon. Okay, so what you're gonna do, so you always want to get the caliber of ammo that you're actually shooting in your gun. So these are specifically for a 9mm. I also have them for my 12 gauge shotgun. When it comes to dry firing, and I know that sometimes people think that dry firing is childish, but it's very important. It's a very, very important drill. Dry firing is when you're sitting at home and you're watching television at least 5-10 minutes a day. You actually need to pull your gun out. You look, it is empty, and you want to put your gun on target, okay? So you dry firing 5 minutes a day. You should pull your gun out, put it on the target, fire it. Okay, that's something that's very important that you do. Now, I will say this. There are some guns that you can do, and a lot of people used to believe that it would damage your gun, but it doesn't. Now, you should never do this with your 22. Why? Because the 22 is different. It's a rim fire. These are center fire, which means that there's a pin that actually hits the center of, your firing pin hits the center of this round, and it fires from that. 22s are rim fires. Never dry fire with your rim fire. Now, let's talk about what these rounds do. So basically what this does is, sometimes whenever you get your holster, you want to pull from your holster. You heard that? It's spit out, right? But here's what's really important. A lot of times, whenever you are shooting, you'll get what's called a stovepipe. And you have to practice these type of malfunctions. Okay, so since I have one now, this is called a double feed. Okay, so the double feed is when you have one in the chamber, and then you have one trying to lodge into the chamber. It will create what's called a double feed. Okay, so now, it's not going to shoot. So if you're in a situation, it's not going to shoot. So how do you do that? How do you break that? Okay, what you're going to do, you'll drop the magazine. I say rack it. Make sure it's clear. Put it back in action. Okay? These are the type of drills that you actually need to practice on a regular basis. Okay? Now, I'm also going to do what's called a double feed, a stovepipe. Okay? A lot of times, you're going to shoot a gun and it lodges into the chamber. In other words, it did not push out the way it's supposed to. So in that situation, wipe it off and get back into action. Okay? So these are the things that are very important. When I started shooting for the first time, I bought all of these. And what I did is I got a container to make sure that they drop into that container. But I practice my draw, come out. Okay, learning to do that. Learning to do your double feeds are very, very important. This is a very affordable way of actually practicing your dry fire. I think that it's not what you do when you're out, it's what you do at home that matters. Now here's one of the other things that I used to do a lot. Because one of the things that you want to do is you want to make sure that when you shoot, that gun is steady, okay? That's important. Why? Because it lets you know that your grip is good. If you move your hands too much, what's going to happen? Okay? Now, you can do that with a snap cap. You can also do that with a coin. But I find these to be very, very helpful. They're inexpensive, and you should pick them up and give them a try. The one thing that I want you to always remember is ain't nobody coming to save you. Save yourself. Have some fun and get yourself a gun.
9 milli Billy, baby.